Hello, everyone. So this morning I woke up and the first thing I did was I went on Instagram Reels. And so the first thing I did, I opened my phone and then the first thing I did was go into the Instagram app and I pressed into the button and I went through Reels detailing a chill guy, skibbity toilet, and looks maxing. And so how many of you have shared this similar experience before? So raise your hand if you have. And how many of you have doom scrolled for hours on end and then realized that the things on your to-do list have yet to be completed? And lastly, how many of you have heard of the term Brainrot before? Great, so we all know this term, or maybe some of us do. We all know what Brainrot is. And so what really is Brainrot? For some of you in the audience, this may be quite an unfamiliar topic. Well, to me, Brainrot is like a parasite that plagues our attention spans. It's a concept that has caused our attention spans to deteriorate so much to the point we're unable to focus on anything that isn't fast, shallow, and designed to maximize instant gratification. And as a result, we go through this cycle. We keep on scrolling and scrolling, reel after reel, TikTok after TikTok. And this is exactly what I'm going to be talking about today: the dangers of Brainrot and how we can prevent this. So first of all, Brainrot has kind of changed how we view media as a whole. And so let me ask a question to the audience today. Say you wanted to learn about the history of hamburgers. Would you rather watch a 1 hour long YouTube video essay on the topic? Or would you rather watch a 30-second long video on how the history of burgers can be learned about in perhaps a fraction of the time it would have taken for you to watch a full-length YouTube video? Well, for me, since I'm lazy, I would obviously pick the 30-second one. And so this is probably a very common choice that many of us would take. We would rather prefer things to be easy. We want things to be faster and more shallow. And this is exactly what media creators have noticed today. And thus, they've condensed topics that should be detailed, and they've condensed topics that should be taken into account and also delve into deeper issues. And as a result, they've condensed that into 30-second long video formats for the sake of boosting their videos on the algorithm and for the sake of making themselves more famous. And so initially, I was quite puzzled by this. I was wondering how this really applied. And I was wondering what this so-called attention economy really was. Some of my friends, they talked to me about what an attention economy was. It's when media creators are essentially competing to create the most overstimulating, most over-engaging, most meaningless content possible. And as a result, something called a gratification loop is created. When we go reel after reel and TikTok after TikTok, we subsequently forget what we've really learned. Because when YouTube creators, they condense these videos into such short formats, we're bombarded by too much information. We say learning is one of the key things we can do to perhaps achieve success in the future. But what we don't realize is that too much learning can actually lead to our downfall. And so to put this into perspective, this sort of media consumption has actually led to a biological change in how we perform in our daily lives as a whole. Let's put this into perspective. In the year 2000, the attention span was 12 seconds. And in the year 2020, the attention span was 8 seconds. That is a 4-second long difference. And maybe this difference isn't very significant to you. Well, perhaps maybe it isn't. What can you really do in 4 seconds? Well, the truth is, this is kind of scary because in only 20 years' time, our attention spans have been biologically changed. We're physically incapable of focusing on things for more than 8 seconds long. And so this development actually puzzled many people. And that includes Columbia literature professor Nicholas Staines. He was quite puzzled at how the surge in short-form content has really affected us and our daily lives as a whole. And the truth is, well, one day mind you, Columbia University is one of the most prestigious universities in the world. It's an Ivy League university. So obviously the brightest, smartest, most sharp minds gather here in Columbia University to learn about more. And so one day, a first-year literature student came to his office. She talked about how she was struggling with the assignments she had been assigned to. And so, as a result, Nicholas Dames found this understandable. Obviously, at Columbia University, you'd start to struggle, right? Well, Nicholas Dames, what he heard next was shocking. And this student said, in her high school days, she had never been assigned to read a single book cover to cover. She had only ever been assigned excerpts, poetry, news articles, but she'd never been asked to read a single book cover to cover. And hence, she was unable to complete the assignments that were at hand because she just simply couldn't focus. And so, Nicholas Dames was shocked by this. He had been teaching for over decades. And as a result, this is the first student that's ever come to him in a literature class, which is a class revolving around reading and studying books, right? And a literature student has just came up to him and said, I can't read. And so, well, this isn't it. And this really just shows how disturbing brain rot and short-form content can be. It's affected the minds of an entire generation, and it's affected our ability to process any sort of meaningful content as a whole. In fact, there's top students around the world, the top students at Columbia University, they're unable to focus on tasks that require a sustained attention span of more than 0.002 nanoseconds, or specifically 8 seconds. And so, Brainrot has actually changed how media is created as a whole. It's not just how we consume media. Oh, it's creating media now. Well, have any of you ever come across those Reddit stories? Those fathers asking whether they're the bad person for abandoning their wives and their 5 kids? And then when you click in the video, there's a Subway Surfers gameplay playing in the background, and ASMR sand cutting that goes on for 5 seconds, and Family Guy clips that plague on your screen? Well, I have. Maybe some of you haven't, but then if you go on YouTube, you probably will have. And so these videos, they're meaningless. They don't relate to the content of the video at all. Well, how does Family Guy, let me ask you, how does Family Guy relate to a father losing his 5 kids and his wife in a car accident? Well, it doesn't. The only aim of these clips is for people to extend our attention spans by those few seconds. The only aim of these clips is not to make the video more inherently meaningful or interesting. Their only aim is to make us more focused. And thus, when our viewer time is increased, we're more likely to, say, boost the video. And the video is thus promoted on the algorithm, more likes, more shares, more views are gained. And then the content creator themselves, they're the only ones benefiting from this. We as viewers, we're not benefiting anything from watching these videos. And thus, this leads me to my central point today. How content creators are prioritizing sensationalism over substance. And so, Brainrot has kind of led to the death of sophistication. We're now unable to handle anything that's complex. And in fact, that example I gave earlier about Columbia students being unable to focus, that's only the tip of the iceberg. We've become addicted to the quick and easy, and we're only becoming lazier and lazier as a generation. And so, some people may ask, who really is to blame? Who really is to blame for the surge in sensationalism over substance? Some say it's the viewers. The viewers, they're the ones who are supergluing themselves to the screens. They're the ones who are willingly watching Family Guy clips and Subway Surfers gameplay. They're the only ones watching Skibbity Toilet. It's not us. They're the ones to blame. They can just cut down their media usage and everything will be fine. Well, some say it's the multi-billion-dollar corporations. They've deliberately designed these algorithms to be as addictive as possible. And they've deliberately designed these apps to make them extend your screen time for as much as possible. And clearly that has worked, as my screen time right now is probably around 12 hours long. And so, as a result, as a perspective I don't see some people talking about often is the role content creators play in this. And so, they've become creators. Yes, not content creators per se, but creators of stimuli, and more stimuli. And as a result, they're the ones who have catalyzed the surge in brain-rotted short-form content. And so, they're doing this thing where content is no longer designed to educate. Content is no longer designed to be meaningful. We're not going to be learning anything anymore from this point onward because all they care about is getting likes, views, and more shares. And yes, it's in their best interest. Well, that's their job. They want to earn more money, so they want more likes, views, and shares. But let us as an audience reflect on this. Do we really want to be spending our time scrolling through Brainrot while they are the ones profiting from our meaningless time wasting, perhaps, sessions? Well, that's exactly what I want to address today. And as a result, I'm proposing two solutions. The first one is restoration, and the second is reconnection. The first part of my solution is restoration, restoring meaning to media. What does this mean exactly? Well, media doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a 1 hour long video for it to be meaningful. However, what we need to realize is that media should at least provide some sort of value to the viewer themselves. And so some of you may want to maybe start creating media, for example. The next time you create the next YouTube video or YouTube short or maybe Instagram reel to promote your, your student company, think about what the viewer is actually gaining from this. And content, again, it doesn't have to be long to be meaningful. We don't always have to talk about existentialism and absurdism to make things meaningful. All it needs to do is that it needs to provide some value to the viewer. That can be through comedy. It can be through perhaps animations. This is just 15 seconds as well, but it provides so much more value to the viewer compared to Subway Surfers gameplay and ASMR sand cutting. And we as an audience, we don't always have to be bombarded with Family Guy clips all the time. And the second part of my solution is reconnection. So the first part of my solution focused on content creation. Well, the second part of my solution focuses on content consumption. And this really focuses on us as the viewers themselves. And the next time you go on your phone and you want to go through the next TikTok, Instagram reel, or maybe YouTube short, rethink what this really means to you. Because let's be honest, what are you really gaining from watching Skibbity Toilet and learning how to mew all day? You're not going to gain anything from it, and that's a reality. And so instead, we have to start acknowledging what I coin as a dopamine detox. And so that's when we start shutting off our devices and cutting down on our media usage for the sake of just being more productive and reconnecting with our surroundings and reflecting on what we really choose to select the next time we go on social media. And this can be hard, yes, but there's a reason why it's called a detox, and a detoxification in addiction is commonly termed as cutting away an addiction. So, as a result, let's cultivate a For You page that actually matters, that actually sheds lights on issues that actually matter in the present day and time. And so as a result, let's go beyond our own borders for the sake of actually learning. Let's start to restore meaning to media that actually matters. Thank you.